All right, listener name, get ready, because we are diving into some really thought-provoking stuff today.
I'm ready.
The kind of stuff that just makes you see the world a little bit differently.
Yeah.
We're going deep on the glue that holds communities together.
Okay.
How we develop these like shared understandings of things.
Mm-hmm.
And this really interesting idea of representation, especially in our modern world.
I like it.
Our guide for this deep dive is theologian Oliver O'Donovan and his book, Common Objects of Love.
Okay.
And let me tell you,
Yeah.
he doesn't pull any punches.
Uh-huh.
Right out of the gate, he hits you with these two puzzles about how we normally think about ethics.
Okay.
And you're just like, never thought of it like that. So puzzle number one, why do we even study moral dilemmas that we're most likely never going to have to deal with ourselves?
Right.
Like,
Okay.
agonizing over some massive political decision when you're literally just trying to figure out what to eat for dinner.
Yeah.
It doesn't really map onto our everyday experience.
Right.
And then puzzle number two,
Okay.
why do we spend so much time debating and thinking about choices that have already been made in the past?
Right.
Stuff that's done and over with.
It's history.
Right? We can't change the past. So what's the point?
Yeah.
So to me, O'Donovan is hinting at this idea that we might be missing something really fundamental about how moral reasoning actually works.
Okay.
That it's deeper than just the choices we make in the moment.
It's a lot more to unpack there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So help us unpack it. What is O'Donovan getting at here?
Well, it's so fascinating. He's saying moral reasoning. It's not just about, like you said, those individual choices that we're making.
Right.
It's about how we understand the world around us. And get this, how love shapes our knowledge.
Okay.
He draws on St. Augustine, who said that knowing and loving are super intertwined.
Okay, I'm intrigued by that. I get that our decisions are often based on what we care about.
Right.
But how does that love actually shape our understanding of everything? It's not like choosing pizza over tacos suddenly makes me an expert in international relations,
Well, think about something that you're passionate about.
Okay.
It could be anything you champion or a hobby you love or even your friends and family.
Okay.
Now, does that love just motivate you to do certain things, or does it color how you see the world?
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
It becomes like a lens that influences everything from my priorities to how I'm interpreting world events to even just how I connect with people.
Exactly. And that lens, that's what he's talking about with moral reflection.
Yeah.
How our understanding of good, bad, right, and wrong, it shapes who we are as a group, not just what we do on our own.
So it's less about the actual choices I'm making, like should I cook tonight or order takeout?
Yeah.
And more about the values and the loves that are driving those choices in the first place.
Absolutely. And those loves, those are what actually bind us together as a community.
And this is where O'Donovan's deep dive into how communities actually emerge from these shared loves gets super interesting.
Yeah.
He takes a page from Augustine, and it's kind of a game changer. So we're really digging into this idea of shared loves as the bedrock of community.
Right. And O'Donovan actually, he takes inspiration from Augustine here.
Okay.
And he offers this definition of a people that really made me stop and think.
Yeah.
He says it's a gathered multitude of rational beings united by agreeing to share the things they love.
Interesting.
Not laws.
Okay.
Not just shared interests.
Right.
But the things they love.
Wow.
That's a powerful statement.
Right.
What are the implications of that?
Well, it means love is the very essence of community.
Okay.
It's not enough to just exist alongside each other, right?
Okay.
It's that shared love of something bigger than us, something transcendent.
Okay.
That's what really shapes who we are as a group.
It gives us that sense of belonging.
Exactly.
Okay, so he uses this example of words to illustrate this point, which I thought was so interesting.
Yeah. Words of all things.
Yeah.
So how do words tie into this idea of shared love and community?
Well, I mean, words are more than just tools for communication, aren't they?
That's true.
They're really the building blocks of shared understanding.
Right.
They're how we transform a simple meal into this cherished ritual.
Right.
Or how we can look at a skyscraper in a city we've never even been to and feel this sense of home.
Right. It's those words, they weave together our individual experiences into this tapestry of shared meaning.
Doubly.
And it creates this connection that goes beyond just the surface level.
Absolutely.
But O'Donovan, he doesn't shy away from the complexities here.
Right.
He reminds us that we don't live in a world with just one community and one set of shared loves.
It'd be nice, wouldn't it? But unfortunately, that's where plurality comes in and complicates things.
Okay.
Because when different groups have different transcendent representations, different things that they hold sacred conflict is almost inevitable.
It's like we're hardwired to find our tribe, right? To seek out those shared loves, but that same drive can lead to division and disagreement.
Exactly. And that's where his analysis of modernity becomes especially relevant.
Okay.
He's really interested in how this tension between shared loves and plurality plays out in our modern globalized world.
So tell us more about this idea of publicity that he talks about.
So he sees publicity, this constant flood of images and information,
Right.
as a way of grappling with a kind of loss.
Okay.
Like we've lost those stable shared meanings that grounded us in the past.
It's like we're bombarded with all these representations because without them, they would be utterly lost.
Totally.
Unsure of what to think, what to value, even who to be.
Yeah, it's a bit terrifying, isn't it?
It is a bit terrifying.
Yeah.
So he points to these three key factors that have contributed to this hyper-specialization.
Yeah.
The decline of traditional moral law.
Right.
And the rise of populism.
Big ideas.
Huge. Let's start with hyper-specialization. What does he mean by that?
He's talking about the increasing division of labor and knowledge.
Okay.
We're becoming so specialized in our own little niches that we're losing those common points of reference.
So instead of a community speaking a common language,
Yeah.
it's like we're all speaking different dialects.
Exactly.
And it's harder to connect.
Right. And this fragmentation is made worse by what he sees as the decline of traditional moral law.
So it's not that we've become less moral,
Right.
but those traditional sources of authority
They've been replaced
have been replaced by something else.
by something a lot more fluid.
So like the ever-shifting sands of social media,
Yeah.
where what's good or bad can literally change overnight.
It's wild, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the rise of populism comes in.
Okay.
O'Donovan argues that in this environment of hyper-specialization and moral ambiguity, image becomes everything.
Okay.
It's all about the image.
It's the politician's photo op.
Yes.
The influencer's carefully curated feed.
It's all about appearances.
Style over substance.
Exactly.
It's like we're so desperate for something to believe in,
Yeah.
something to like bring us together.
They unite us.
That we latch onto these kind of manufactured narratives.
Right, even if they're ultimately meaningless.
It's getting very meta.
It is.
But I want to hear more about his thoughts on how images themselves function in all of this.
Okay.
Because he takes us all the way back to ancient anxieties about idols.
Interesting.
Which seems like a wild leap, but I feel like he's onto something. So we're back. And you know, it's interesting, this tension, right? We're craving this shared meaning.
Right.
But we're also like drowning in this sea of information and images.
It's overload.
It's like we're overstimulated, but still feeling disconnected.
Exactly.
And I think this is where O'Donovan's take on images gets really interesting.
Okay.
He brings up these ancient examples like the ban on idols in ancient Israel or the iconoclastic controversies in early Christianity.
Right.
Which seem like kind of a wild leap, but I think he's onto something. What do you think?
Well, it's like he's saying this isn't a new problem, right?
Right.
People have been wrestling with the power of images for centuries.
Exactly. So what can we learn from these ancient anxieties about images?
I think the main takeaway is that images have this incredible power to shape how we see the world.
Okay.
They can influence our values, our beliefs, even our political systems.
And in a world where we're constantly bombarded with images.
It's like a free-for-all.
All right.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, how do we even begin to figure out what's real? What's worth paying attention to?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
It is.
So what does O'Donovan suggest? How do we navigate this?
Well, he doesn't say we need to like completely reject images.
Okay.
That'd be pretty impossible, wouldn't it?
Right.
But he does call for what he calls a discipline of representation. What does that look like?
It's about being really intentional about the images we consume and create.
So not just passively absorbing everything that comes at us.
Exactly. We need to be more discerning, asking ourselves, what's the message here? Is this image reflecting something true and meaningful, or is it just trying to manipulate me?
So it's like being a critical consumer of images.
Exactly. Like you wouldn't just buy any product you see advertised, would you?
Right.
You do your research, compare prices, read reviews.
We need to bring that same critical eye to the images we encounter every day.
Absolutely.
So how do we actually do that? What are some practical steps we can take?
O'Donovan offers 3 practices: alertness, patience, and worship.
Alertness, patience, worship. I like it. Okay, let's break those down. Starting with alertness. What does it mean to be alert in this context?
It means being aware of the visual messages that are constantly coming at us.
Okay.
Paying attention to the way images make us feel and the ideas they're trying to convey.
So not just passively scrolling through social media.
Right. Be present. Pay attention. Ask questions.
Got it. What about patience?
Patience is about resisting the urge to jump on every bandwagon.
Okay.
It's about slowing down and being more deliberate about where we focus our attention.
Not getting swept away by the latest trends or controversies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because not everything that's flashy and attention-grabbing is actually meaningful or important.
So we need to be discerning with our time and energy.
Exactly. And that brings us to worship.
Okay. How does worship fit into all of this?
O'Donovan sees worship as the antidote to the shallowness of modern life. It's about connecting with something larger than ourselves.
Right.
Something that gives us a sense of meaning and purpose.
So it could be a religious practice, but it could also be something else.
Right. You could be connecting with nature or art or music or spending time with loved ones.
Anything that nourishes our souls and reminds us of what truly matters.
Yeah, exactly.
This has been such a thought-provoking conversation. O'Donovan's ideas are so relevant to the challenges we face today.
I agree.
As we navigate this world of shared loves and competing narratives, it's crucial to be mindful of the images that surround us, to be alert to their power, patient in our discernment, and grounded in something deeper, something worthy of our worship. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive